Welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped to have you here today because we are tackling something that has literally been causing a massive headache for test takers all over the world. We are completely demystifying the new PTE scoring updates for 2026. Look, if you're studying for the PTE academic exam, you've probably heard the whispers, or honestly, maybe even the shouts, about these huge changes to how responses are graded. Well, today we're bringing absolute clarity to the whole situation by digging into the new rules, the strict guidelines, and the proven strategies straight from the source material. We are going to decode exactly how to get that perfect score. So let's start with the elephant in the room. Why are your PTE scores mysteriously dropping? You know the feeling. You've practiced, you memorized all your templates, you felt absolutely great walking out of that testing center, and then the results come back. Suddenly, your listening and writing scores are just in the basement. It's incredibly frustrating, especially for focused, dedicated learners like you who actually put in the work. But here's the thing. The answer isn't that you've suddenly forgotten how to write. The answer is that the game has completely changed right under your feet. And those old rules, they simply do not apply anymore. Okay, let's dive into this, because we are looking at a fundamental shift in how this exam is graded. Under the pre-2025 AI scoring model, you could kind of just stitch together some random keywords, dump them into a pre-memorized template, and the AI would actually reward you for just covering the content. It was a totally different ballgame. But in the 2026 reality, the PTE has introduced a strict human review element for tasks like summarized spoken text. A real, actual person is now looking at your screen to see if you can genuinely paraphrase and synthesize information. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, the new scoring reality. 2, mastering content. 3, nailing form. 4, perfecting grammar. 5, the step-by-step strategy. And finally, 6, beating tricky scenarios. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The new scoring reality and its dual impact.
We really need to talk specifically about summarized spoken text because this single task is silently destroying scores across multiple modules for people who just don't understand the update. It has a massive dual impact. Basically, this single task contributes about 10 marks to your test. But here's the absolutely critical part. It contributes 10 marks to your listening score and your writing score simultaneously. Think about that. 1 question, 2 sections. If you underperform on a summarized spoken text question, 2 of your 4 major PTE scores take a hit at the exact same time. The stakes are incredibly high here. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute danger of relying on your old strategies. Listen to this exact quote from Pearson's official grading criteria. Heavy reliance on copy text lacks paraphrasing and synthesis. Connectives may be repetitive or inappropriate. They are explicitly telling us what they're looking for. If you're just copy-pasting sentences and jamming filler words like furthermore and moreover in between them without any actual logical connection, that human reviewer is going to flag it immediately. In 2026, copy-pasting random phrases is just a fast track to a low score. Moving on to Section 2, mastering content and paraphrasing, which is how you're actually earning your points now. Because the content parameters have totally changed, earning those points requires a brand new approach. Honestly, if you're working with a study plan that hasn't updated its strategies since they brought in human reviewers, you are basically preparing for the wrong exam. You have to earn your content points through genuine comprehension now. Look at the stark contrast between a weak response and a strong one here. A weak response, like the speaker talked about urban farming, uses those generic robotic templates and just drops in a keyword. That is an automatic 0 across all criteria today. But a strong response beautifully synthesizes the ideas. Instead of just pulling exact words, it uses synonyms like urban agriculture is experiencing rapid expansion. It creates a coherent academic sentence. And guys, that is exactly what the examiners are hunting for. So the crucial point here is mastering synthesis. But what does synthesis actually mean? It means combining accurately paraphrased key points, tossing out all the irrelevant fluff, and gluing it all together with appropriate logical connectives. And I really want to emphasize that word, appropriate. You can only use however if there is a genuine contrast being made. You can only use consequently if there's an actual cause and effect. Random connectives used as a crutch or filler? Yeah, those are specifically penalized now. Section 3. Nailing form and word limits. These are the non-negotiables. When we talk about form, we are talking about strict, unbreakable boundaries. These are not gentle suggestions. They are the absolute laws of the exam. For summarized spoken text, your response must be between 50 and 70 words. No exceptions. If you write 49 words, the scoring system applies a massive penalty across all your criteria. That means not just your form score, but your content and grammar too. And if you write 71 words, the exact same severe penalty applies. You will immediately crash your score if you fall even one word outside this specific window. So, to protect yourself, 65 is your ultimate sweet spot. By targeting exactly 65 words, you give yourself a really comfortable, risk-free buffer. Think about it. If you miscount slightly or you realize you need to add or remove a tiny article like the or during your final proofread, you won't accidentally slip under 50 or over 70. You're safe. Always aim for 65. And while you're carefully managing that word count, you also must manage your time. You have exactly 10 minutes per question. And yes, that includes the time it takes to actually listen to the audio. Here is a critical reminder, though. Any time you save on this task cannot be rolled over to the next question. There's no banking time. If you finish in 7 minutes, you do not get 3 extra minutes later on. So don't rush. Use the full 10 minutes to draft, refine, and really proofread your work. Section 4. Perfecting grammar and spelling. The silent killers of a good score. Even if you have perfect content, there is a golden rule you must memorize right now. Never write a word you aren't 100% sure how to spell. In the PTE, spelling errors are heavily penalized. One single mistake drops your spelling score by half. Multiple mistakes, they take your spelling score all the way down to 0 for that parameter. It's just not worth it. If you want to use the word aeroplane, but you're second-guessing the vowels in the moment, don't use it. Just find a simpler synonym. Use plain. Protect your points at all costs. And then we have the grammar traps. A major mistake students make when they're frantically trying to hit that 65-word sweet spot is randomly deleting words just to shrink their text. If you just chop a verb or a noun right out of the middle of a sentence, you break the whole grammatical structure. If you need to reduce your word count, the absolute safest method is to remove subclauses. You know those extra pieces of descriptive information sitting neatly between 2 commas? Removing a clean subclause keeps the main sentence structure perfectly intact while safely dropping your word count. Okay, Section 5, the proven step-by-step strategy. Let's look at your exam blueprint. This is the exact real-time blueprint you need to apply in the exam room to make sure you hit every single one of those criteria we just discussed. Here is your flow. Step 1, listen and build a keyword map. Do not try to write full perfect sentences while the audio is playing. Just capture the main nouns, verbs, and numbers. Step 2, paraphrase the main topic immediately. Step 3, add your supporting points using those earned logical connectives we talked about. Step 4, conclude. So many students skip the conclusion, but the speaker almost always ends with a warning or a recommendation. Capture it. And finally, Step 5, spend your final minutes proofreading for form, spelling, and grammar. Now, a huge warning for when you are executing Step 2, paraphrasing the topic. Avoid starting with memorized templates. Do not start your summary with the phrase, "the speaker discussed," or "the lecture was about." Honestly, these phrases are in literally every single outdated template on the internet. Using them immediately signals to the human reviewer that you aren't genuinely synthesizing the text. Instead, just state the paraphrased fact directly. Get right to the point to prove your real comprehension. Let's wrap up with Section 6. Beating tricky exam scenarios and staying adaptable. Sometimes the PTE is going to throw you a complete curveball that breaks standard formatting rules, especially in the summarized written text tasks, and you need to know how to adapt on the fly. For example, what if the source text you need to summarize starts with a question? You can't start a formal academic summary with a question, right? So you use a simple conversion trick. If the text says, "Who would have imagined the impact of AI?" you just convert it to a statement. No one would have imagined the impact of AI. This brilliant little trick keeps those crucial opening keywords intact, but it perfectly fixes the grammar for a proper summary format. Another super tricky scenario is a conversation prompt where multiple people are talking to each other. You must always remember that an academic summary is written in the third person, period. You have to convert any I or you statements into he, she, or they. And to seamlessly connect their points without it sounding messy, use reporting verbs. Instead of just coldly listing facts, write "Peter explained that" or "Simon mentioned that." It beautifully organizes the multiple viewpoints while maintaining strict academic formality.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from avoiding those deadly template traps to mastering actual synthesis to hitting that absolute perfect word count. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As you sit down to practice for the 2026 PTE exam, are you consistently hitting that 65-word sweet spot, or are you risking it all by clinging to old, outdated habits? It is time to ditch the copy-paste templates, practice with genuine intention, and finally take control of your score. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.